Alright everybody, this is where I do like the super awesome intro. This is where I hook you and snag you and drag you in and make it so that you can't not watch this interview. Can you tell I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos lately? I had a really great chat with Jaryd Krause. And you can't really tell in this video, but before I recorded it, I maybe talked to him for just a couple of minutes. And honestly, what blew me away was just how nice he was and how genuine he really was. But I literally gave him every opportunity to go full-on guru, and he just would not take the bait. I think that guy is honestly that genuine. If he's not, he sure fooled me. On a more serious note, that's right, the introduction. Jaryd specializes in helping his clients buy online businesses. Now, I haven't worked with Jaryd myself, so I'm not going to tell people to run over there and sign up with him. But I know how hard it is to go out and jump into the whole website buying, online business buying world. It's super hard in the beginning, and it's super hard when you have no idea what you're doing. So it's nice to know that there are people out there who are offering this service. Anyway, I had a great chat with Jaryd, and I hope you enjoy it. Before you click off, regardless of how much you watch of it, let me know what you liked, what you learned, and if you think we should have him back. Because I'm not gonna lie, I only asked like a third of the things that I had planned to ask him about. I literally could have picked this guy's brain for like 5 hours. All right. Here we go. Hey, Jaryd, welcome. Why don't you tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Hey, thanks so much for having me and having a chat. It's been great. Even before we hit the record button, says chat. A little bit about me is I teach people to buy website businesses. And what I have is, obviously a podcast and a community in which people join to get advice and learn how to buy a website business that's not a lemon.
You said obviously like everybody watching this should know that you have a podcast. Everybody, Jaryd has a podcast.
Sorry, I just came with a package of like I've got like, I'm doing the standard thing that everybody else is doing. Like I've got a podcast, I've got this, I've got a course, I'm the same as everybody else. Whoopsies.
So funny. All right, so you help people buy and sell, or just buy online businesses?
Just buy. Yeah. There's so many people out there that help people exit businesses as well. Obviously, I can help people exit businesses. I've sold my own businesses before, and there's different things that you can do to set them up for sale. Although that's not my specialty. That's not what I'm known for. That's not what people come to me for. They're more about the buy. And if they want to learn how to sell, like I can teach them a couple of things, but I'd probably push them off to somebody who's like done it so many more times than me.
Yeah, but wouldn't you agree though, as someone who specializes in buying, that you could have a pretty decent idea of what something needed to look like to sell?
Oh, certainly. And that's what, if you set it up the right way, depends on what the person's goal is and how they own it, whether it's short-term, long-term, flipping, or they're setting it up to sell, then yeah, depends on how you want to sell it, how you want to package it, or how you want to run it as a owner. So obviously, yeah, I know a lot about that, but it's just not, I guess people don't come to me for that.
Your website's not selling online businesses, right? It's buying online businesses.
That's right. And I had looked at buying that domain, selling online businesses as well, but somebody else has it, and I don't think I'm going to go into that field. I know there's Nate Ginsberg, who's just started a podcast, and he is all about teaching people how to exit e-commerce sites. He's a great guy. I've had a good chat to him before, and he's good at what he does. So I'd probably recommend people go there if they have an e-commerce site and they wanted to set it up. It can take like a good couple of months, maybe longer, to depends on how big your business is, to sell it as well. Like it's not just like I change this, manufacture this, and just switch a few things around. It can be like onboarding staff, setting up processes and systems, taking away costs, stripping costs and stuff like that. Depends on the size of the business, I guess.
So do you have a specialty then as far as the type of online business that you specialize in helping people buy, as far as like FBA or drop shipping or content sites or what?
No, not at all. A lot of people came to me to buy drop shipping sites when that was like a big thing. And obviously now you can do Amazon FBA, which has been quite big for a couple of years. Content sites. I had people buy SaaS sites, content sites, drop shipping sites, all different types of business models.
So you have a portfolio though, right? A portfolio of your own?
Yeah, actually, I've only got two businesses at the moment though. I sold one, a very small one, about a couple of weeks ago. And just because I wasn't spending time on it, so I've got two businesses at the moment. I've got one where I teach and one which is like an e-commerce business. And yeah, that's it. Like probably going to get rid of the e-commerce one that I have and buy some more later in the year when we see how things pan out with the economy.
Current events, speaking of which, then let's
Yeah.
jump to that because I'm super interested in hearing about how people are handling what's going on in the world. First question, how is your business different based upon what it is that we are seeing? I mean, as far as what it is you're doing or how people are behaving, I mean, freaking out, like more conservative, fewer big deals, like what is going on from your side? Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah, with my clients in the Bob community. Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean it's very interesting. There have been people that have left. They've lost their jobs and they don't want to keep paying monthly, and I totally understand that. And they've said, "Hey, we'll come back when I've got work and I can afford to keep doing this." And then there's other people that are still looking at businesses and buying them as well. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, really. And I think that's what the brokers are seeing as well. Is a bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes people are like, hey, like this is a great opportunity. Like I've got to start learning right now because I've got time and the economy's not great. So I might pick up a bargain here. And then you've got other people that are in a more of a scarcity mindset that are like, oh, like, and that's okay. I mean, they might have just lost their job and some of their investments may not have gone so well. They may be in property and their, the rental income may not be paying the bills anymore. So I totally get it. Everybody's in a different bucket in a different space. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I'd love to say it's one way or the other, but it's not.
So are you giving your clients at all any sort of advice or what are you guys talking about as far as Amazon sites, like the sites that are just in the process right now of getting hammered by the Amazon affiliate commissions changes? Like what is the rumble on the ground on your end as far as buying content sites that are monetized with Amazon associates?
Yeah, and my sympathy goes out to everybody who has been hit. I've had clients have been hit by that, lost like 60, well, going to lose 62% of their revenue. I think it was on the April 20th. I think that was the date it was going to change the commission structure. In terms of people who are looking to buy Amazon associate sites, obviously now, if they're going to buy Amazon associate sites, they're going to having them value them to the current commissions that they're being paid, whether it's 3%, 1, 2, whatever it is, rather than valuing the businesses of what they were being or were earning in commissions. So that's a huge one. But also it's made people a bit fearful, a bit shaky about Amazon, and I feel they should be as well, because I've heard from somewhere else is that, and they were going to roll this out a while ago from somewhere else that I heard, but also I heard that from what I know is that they're going to prevent people or eventually stop people from getting a commission on the whole cart on Amazon as well. And that was spoken about last year, I believe, and that hasn't rolled out as well. So there's all these changes that come with and being reliant on any one platform. I call it platform sensitivity, right? Dependency on a single platform. That can be dependency on Google, right? For all of your traffic, or Facebook, or Google Ads, or Pinterest, or whatever it is. And there's a guy named James Schramko. He's from superfastbusiness.com, and he has a concept called OTR, which is own the race course. And it talks about, you should own your own business and not be too reliant on different sources and different factors and different things. Like it's the same with dropshipping as well. If you have only one supplier and they get knocked out, then you've got no business. So being single source dependency is scary. And I'm huge on, when I look and review people's businesses, huge on looking at what the risks are and stating what they are and helping them either minimize them as a new owner or moving on to finding something that is better for their risk profile.
So then in practice, we've got you who have two businesses and you're unloading one of them and you're going to be left with the one that you can, for the most part, control.
Correct.
But when you say that you're putting all of your eggs though in one basket, then
I'm okay with either strategy. It depends on how you look at it. So Warren Buffett, and I follow a lot of his advice, is he says you can put all your eggs in one basket, but watch the basket. And he also says one of my favorite quotes, and I say this to a lot of people who are buying sites, so they just want to get something cheap. They want to get something like a really good price. And he says, it's better to buy a good business at a fair price than a fair business at a good price. And I like to follow a lot of the ethos of Warren Buffett because he's, the most famous business investor in the world. And that's how he got really, really wealthy is he bought businesses. So yes, I mean, definitely I will have, it's not all my eggs in one basket. I've got other investments and stuff like that. But even if I got rid of all my investments and I did just have one basket, it'd be okay because I've learned how to manage that basket and I've minimized a lot of the risk with that basket. And if I lost that whole basket, I've learned the education on how to get it back again to grow it. So it depends on what mindset you sit in with that. In my opinion, is that you can be fearful, but if you know what to do, you can be confident and not have to come from a place of anxiety and stress and worry.
Speaking of stress and anxiety and worry, that sounds like basically every content site owner, operator in the last 12 months as a result of the Google algorithm. And I am wondering if you are seeing less confidence in content sites that were monetized with display ads. I mean, obviously Amazon Associates just gone blah, but
yeah,
it seemed like the multiples were just going up and up and up and up and up just on the steady trajectory on content sites that are monetized with AdSense. They seem the most stable. And now they seem incredibly unstable because we literally have no control over Google and we have no control over affiliate programs. And we have now with COVID-19, we have no control over anybody wanting to spend money on ads. I mean, they seem to be one of the least stable of all the groups.
Yeah.
It seems like with e-commerce, at least you could choose, where you want to drive traffic to, and you could, control the messaging and the site and the cart and all the things. I always thought of those as being less secure. And for some reason now it seems like these are more secure because you have more control. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good insight. Now, I don't believe that any one business model is more risky than the other. And if we come back to the OTR, which is Own the Race Course by James Schramko, people can YouTube that video. He's also got an amazing podcast. Check out his podcast. And what he's talking about is not being dependent on other people or other factors or other sources. Now, you can have a content site, and I'm not saying content sites are super risky at the moment. I think people are looking at it from a different standpoint. Is that yes, any website is super risky if you have all of your traffic coming from one place, like Google. But for example, if one of my clients come to me and says, "Hey, I'm looking at this website business, and it's a content site, and they may have traffic coming from a good amount of traffic coming from Facebook, say maybe 60% from Google, and then the other percentages split through 3 different social media sources. And they might have an email list as well. A lot of content sites don't have email lists, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on with you? This is a risk minimization strategy to have an email list. What happens if all of your traffic goes and you can't get your posts and stuff in front of people? You can just email them. And they don't have to be email marketing, like trying to get affiliate money from your emails. No, it's just email them to your post and you can give them great value. Okay. And that means even if you have just affiliate program run on your site and ads, then even if they don't buy things, they're still seeing the ads, right? So you're still pushing traffic to your ads. So it's a risk minimization strategy. So if you have 3 different social media sources of traffic, a lot from Google, 60%, still a lot, you're still quite dependent on it. But then also, if you don't just have your content site being only one with one advertiser or advertising platform, such as just Google AdSense, say you have Google AdSense, and then you might have a Mediavine account set up, and you might have a different advertising account set up, and you're ready to go and roll out either one of those if something is effective from one of those. Or if you have, say for example, you're doing affiliate marketing, or you have affiliate posts, like you don't have to be with just Amazon, and you don't have to be with just Commission Junction or ClickBank or whatever these, different types of commission or affiliate programs actually are. You can have multiple, and I suggest having multiple. And even better than having multiple, instead of going to like straight up with affiliate programs, is you can go directly to the business and look for an affiliate, set up an affiliate program with them. They may not even have an affiliate program set up, but I saw a site for sale, I think it was on Quiet Light Brokerage, and they had a couple of different, I think it was like 13 different businesses that had they were affiliate partners with, and had affiliate programs. And that is a great content site, because why? They got 13, they don't have one. And I think that it's the same with drop shipping. Like I said before, if you have one drop shipper, like one supplier, then you're at risk. But you have 3 to 4 or 5, then you're not so much at risk, because if one drops off, you can still make up the slack with the other. And it's the same not with how you make the income from the supplier, but it's also the same with the traffic that comes in. So when some clients of mine have bought sites that are heavily reliant on Google ads and drop shipping, and I'm like, okay, you're going to buy a site that you know nothing about with Google ads, and you have never worked with Google ads. You don't know anything about digital marketing. Do you think that's a good idea? Like, what happens if you don't have the skills to run that, right? And also, if you did have the skills, like say for example, I do a lot of digital marketing, and I'm not the best at AdWords. I do AdWords, but I'm pretty good at Facebook. And even if I bought a drop shipping site that was heavily reliant on Facebook, I'm still at risk, even though I've got the skills and I've made lots of money on Facebook ads. Because what happens if Facebook changes their algorithm or how their advertising policies, which has happened to me at the end of 2018, and I lost so much of my business, and I spent so much money, and it hurt and it sucked. So you see that I don't think any business model is more risky or less riskier. It's just dependent on what's involved with that business.
As you're talking, as I'm listening to you, it kind of brings me back to some other research and discussions I've had with folks. And I know this is from the sell side, but where you buy and sell, and I guess I think of them in the same world, but as far as bringing a site along and getting it ready potentially to make it as valuable as you possibly can, I've had people say that that it is better to have, like, say, a content site or a site that's monetized in one way to, I guess, broaden the pool of your potential buyers. Because if you have a site that you are doing, you need to know SEO to run, to create your posts for Google, and then you have a giant Pinterest account, and you have to have a Pinterest VA to run it, because otherwise, you'd have no time to do anything else. And then you have an Instagram, and then you have an email list. And so potential buyers, your pool is going to be really narrow, because otherwise we have the situation where your client, said, do you really know how to do this? Is this really a good idea for you to buy a site that is monetized with all these things that you know absolutely nothing about? I mean, could you be narrowing your pool too much if you are spread too thin? I mean, are you really going to find a buyer when your site is like that?
I think yes, you can find buyers, and you're right. There may be potential buyers that don't want to do that much work. I know that's certainly with my clients, is that this is an extra income stream for a lot of them. It's not like their total income stream, so they don't want to spend too many hours running this business. So correct, like a lot of these, like you may have content sites that do have content writers already that may come with them, or it's quite easy to hire content writers, and you can actually get them for free as well. College grads and stuff like that. And then, yes, if you do have too many things working with the business, it's going to take up too much time, and it may be hard to sell. But if you have systems and processes put in place that can combat that, and maybe hire a VA, and that job is very simple and it's a low paying VA, then it may not be such of a cost to the business that the revenue comes down, where it's going to affect the possible sale of the business as well. So I certainly agree. Yes, you can run yourself too thin. And this is what one of my mentors, he threw a book at me once at a seminar. It's like, you need to read this, right? Because if you can't tell by already, like I'm quite energetic and I move on to things quite fast, and I do too many things and I try to catch too many rabbits and I end up catching none sometimes. So he threw this book at me, and it's called The One Thing, which is by Gary Keller. And it is really important to focus on the one thing. Now, I suggest, yes, if you've got Google traffic, focus on Google traffic whilst you bought the business, and then set up a good process and system on creating content that is made for Google to get ranked higher. Once you've set up that process and you focus on the one thing and you've created that system that it can run itself with your VA or very minimal work by you, then you can move on to another strategy to get more traffic in to minimize your risk. So certainly one thing at a time, but then if you end up doing like, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram, like for me in my business, I don't do that, right? Like it's just too much. You're right. You're very right. But it's a happy medium, and it's hard for somebody that comes into this game to understand like how much should I focus on and how little should I focus.
What's your opinion on beginning investors buying an online business with an operator?
I think it's a great idea. It depends on what their strategy is, right? Like it's a hard question to answer depending on what their goal is. If they're wanting to buy a website business and not run it, and also continue building a portfolio of businesses and not run them, then for sure, like you can hire an operator to do that stuff. But at the end of the day, I still think it's really important that you either do some work or work alongside, or just sit alongside the operator to learn how it's done. Because I feel that we can often outsource too much of our responsibility. Because what happens if that operator does come in and they, you buy the site, they run it, they operate it, and something happens, they go, oh, that's like, Google just changed these things and stuff like that. And Amazon just came and changed their commission structure and half your business is gone. You're going to be pretty upset that the operator didn't tell you, like, maybe we should look at some risk minimization strategies and get an email list and this stuff that we just talked about. When if you started to learn a little bit about this, you could have had more focus on your basket, even if you had multiple businesses. So I think it's a great idea to learn without the bigger learning curve, and you can achieve results a lot quicker. Obviously, you're not going to make as much money because you've got putting an operator in place, but I think it's a good strategy if you want to go down that route. But yeah, outsourcing too much responsibility is scary, I believe.
I think for beginning investors, I hate the idea of an operator because, from my pre-working online days, I was trained that you should never outsource anything that you couldn't do yourself, because you can't manage it. Like, how do you know if they're doing a good job if you could not do it yourself? Like, you just have no idea. You have to trust that they are doing it correctly. And so for me, people ask me all the time, how do I get started? And I said, well, you should go buy a domain and buy some cheap hosting and start doing it wrong, because that's the only way you're gonna know. Like, spend a year or two and just lose a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Before you go and lose a whole bunch of money. And that, I guess, has been my strategy, is just sort of mumble along. And then I don't have to ask those questions. Like, should I buy this or should I not? Like, I didn't go to someone and ask their opinion. I said, oh, well, I think I know enough to be dangerous. And if I am wrong here, then at least I'm rising and falling on my own opinion, my own experience, and not because somebody led me down that road. And I can only be pissed at myself rather than somebody else.
Yeah, that's right. At the end of the day, you can be that bitter person where the operator didn't tell you stuff and the business didn't go well, and you just point the finger. But when you put yourself in front of the mirror, you just point the finger right back at you. And sometimes we need to actually look at ourselves in the mirror and see what's going on. And I think you're right. Like, starting small is a good way to go. Sometimes people come like, hey, I want to buy this 300 grand, 400, 500 grand business. I'm like, cool, you've ever bought a business before online? No. Okay, well, is that all of your money or you're leveraging it? And they're like, oh, well, a lot of it's going to be leverage. I'm like, well, why don't we stick with something that's more comfortable for you, even though you may have me and other people in your corner within the community that can help you, but like maybe let's just build your confidence a little bit more around that and start with a smaller site. I think you're on the right track there. No, I believe I sit in the same boat for sure.
So as far as leveraging go, I assume when you say the word leverage, you mean people borrowing money then to go ahead and make these purchases. And how much of your work, I guess, or your clients are you seeing who are actually coming in with borrowed money to buy a site?
Probably 50 to 30%. And sometimes people will come in and they'll want to just use leverage straight away and just try and achieve these massive goals overnight. And I smile and I have a bit of a giggle because like I'm that guy. Like I want to achieve like great things overnight as well. But then I've lost out hugely because I've built my life on shaky foundations, because what goes up really quick can come down really quick, and with leverage it just makes it, it just multiplies that. So then we go through the process and I say, hey, yeah, if you want to buy it with leverage, you can do that. And then I start to see like, oh, maybe it's not the best for them, and I just hint to them and let them learn that it may not be the right thing for them, because if I come in and tell them, they're not going to get the lesson as well. So I just lead them to the water for them to work out what's the right structure or the right way to go. And then sometimes it is the good thing. Sometimes they're like, oh, let's chunk down here. Let's use some of my own cash, maybe a little bit of finance and buy something smaller. I think the good thing about our space, this is a good thing and a bad thing. I think the good thing about our space is that it is hard to get finance as well. And that's a good thing because it can protect a lot of people from making bad decisions. The hard thing is that it can make it hard for people to get started when they don't have much cash. But yeah, there's a pros and the cons to that as well.
Well, how does someone get started then when they don't have a lot of cash? Like, how does someone reach into this? Because it seems like there's the people up there who are doing it, and then there's everybody else who wants to do it. And how do you make the jump? Like, how do you bridge the gap?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's such a hard gap to bridge, especially when we're so used to like, oh, I can just use finance for everything. I know that's definitely big in America, and it's quite big in Australia as well. I don't believe it's the best strategy to go with an online business. I think, like you said, is if you don't have much money, like I'm talking, if you've got under $10,000, then maybe it's worth like setting up your finances right, and whilst you are getting the education, first and foremost, like when people come like, hey, I want to buy, I spoke to this person that I met at a seminar a while ago. I was like, hey, I want to buy a business. He's just read a book. He's like, I'm going to buy a business. I'm like, cool, how much money you got? He's like, oh, I've got like a couple of $1,000s. I'm like, okay, cool, so how are you going to buy it? And he's like, well, I'm going to use finance. I'm like, okay, cool, so let's first work out what's going on with your bucket. I call it the leaky bucket syndrome. Like we all have a bucket, and then what happens is we're going to have holes in the bucket, and some of this money is going to get plumbed to expenses that we need, like food and water and accommodation and stuff like that. But sometimes there's just like leaky things like entertainment or things that we're doing that's just not allowing our bucket to stay consistently full, except for the plumbing that comes out. So I say to those people, look, if you've got this bucket and it's leaking, and then you go put leverage in it and you don't have your personal finances sorted out, or put more money in it with interest rate on top of that, then it's just going to leak a lot quicker. So I think it's better to get a financial education first and start to save a bit of money and then get into it. That's my opinion. Sometimes people want to just buy something and get into finance straight away, and they can do so, but it's not my preferred. So it's hard to bridge the gap. It really is.
I honestly am not even sure, just in my own personal experience, how people are able to get financing. I mean, it seems like you would need to have either significant assets of your own to be able to back up, or to have that loan collected on in some way. Because I just don't see how a bank, like a traditional lender, is just going to say, here's 50 grand, completely unsecured, you know, you got a great credit score, but we have no way to collect this. I mean, most people in the banking industry just cannot possibly be sophisticated enough in this space to really understand what's going on. I mean, how are people getting financing?
So that's right. Like that's why there's not that much financing options available, right? So and those that do know stuff that's going on, they look into it further, like, we'd love to finance this website buying industry. And they look into it further, like, well, if things go belly up, there's no collateral. It's not like there's a property that we can foreclose, or some like physical products, or a big, warehouse that we can foreclose. So that's why there's not that many lending options. There are some, and how people get finance is that this, normally there's quite a big deposit, right? Like, I'm talking, if you want to get and buy anything over 500K, you're going to need about 100 grand as a deposit. And then I don't know what the interest rates are. That's going to be dependent on the person's credit score, dependent on the person's job, dependent on so many different things. So you can get approved for financing, but you're still going to need some cash. You're still going to need like a fair chunk of cash.
Do you think that the way things are going in the world, people are going to be more or less willing to do a deal that involves payouts? Like I forget
Earnout?
Yeah, earnouts. Like, people are going to be less likely or more likely to be interested in an earnout?
It's a good question. And it's really going to be dependent on, you mean for the seller?
Sure. I mean, on either side. I mean, a buyer, this is the only way they can get into it. They'll do an earnout versus, I mean, how does that play out now? Because it seems like there's a lot of uncertainty, and you have to have some confidence to be willing to jump in on an earnout.
Yeah, an earnout is a good thing for a buyer, a really good thing. So a lot of buyers will be pushing for it. I know that people that I work with, that we always push for an earnout. And then for the seller, it really is dependent. Like, I was speaking to Joe from Empire Flippers. He just called me the other day on Sunday. We just had a quick chat, and he was talking about, like, most sellers don't want an earnout. They just want the cash, because they're selling the business for a reason. They just want to get out of it quick. And that's even before this whole economic crisis happened. So when myself and my clients go to buy a business, we offer two options, or we ask a question. And the question is, like, would you rather receive a little bit more money out of this deal and receive it over a longer period of time? Or would you rather receive, like, lesser amount in cash and just take it now? And I think the answer in this time, if people are starting to get desperate, and I don't think we've seen a huge change in valuations in business just yet on our online space, but I still feel that sellers are like, well, I just really want to sell this business a lot more now, and they'd probably take a lesser amount and take it in cash than an earnout. I think that's where it's been for a while anyway, and probably just a little bit more enhanced with our economic position.
Have you ever been involved in a deal where the earnout situation didn't pan out? I mean, I could think of a couple situations where that might happen. One where the website just gets hammered by an update, and then they can't make the payments, or maybe they just don't make the payments. They just totally are awful and flakes and just don't make the payment. I mean, how does that play out as far as the seller trying to get the benefit of their bargain then? I mean, what's in the contract that's like, what happens?
I've never been a part of a deal that has not come through on an earnout. On my end, if we are going to go for an earnout, I make sure people have the money, because the worst thing you can do in this space is, like, ruin your reputation and ruin your relationships. Like, I'm around the opinion that the relationships you make with the seller and the broker and all the people in the industry are so much more valuable than any business you're going to buy, right? Relationships, like, stay, businesses go. So I'm big on having my clients have the money, whether that's, like, they've already got the finance and they can pay it out, or they've got the cash. So I've never seen a deal where it has gone bad. If it does, I mean, there can be like contingency plans and stuff like that where if the business is hit by an update or it loses a certain amount of revenue, the amount of money that is paid back will be lesser, and that really sucks for the seller because it's like kind of out of their control to a certain degree. It also sucks for the buyer as well, but you can have those things put in place where one of my clients that bought a business, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, bought a SaaS site for about 400K, and he had those like contingency put in place. So if the revenue drops, then so does the amount of the earnout for that month drops as well. Yeah.
I was wondering if you had seen a spike in interest at all in SaaS businesses as a result of the ad revenue going bot and then Amazon Associates going bot, because that just seems like an area that hasn't really been hammered recently. Seems like a place people could jump to.
Yeah, I mean, I like SaaS. I like anything that's got like a recurring monthly income and they've already got the customers, and makes sense why they have a higher multiple. If anything, the multiples may even go up for those types of businesses in this time. I don't know because I'm not a broker. I do see the businesses, but not the amount of level, because I've only got a pool of buyers where the broker has like so many more buyers that they work with and sellers. So I wouldn't know how it's changed yet, but I could see that maybe the multiples might go up, and I believe that is a good sort of a safe haven as well. Bear in mind, like I said before, you've still got the risks of a SaaS site, like maybe there's single source dependency on making sales because they might have a low or a high churn rate. Sorry, they might have a high churn rate and they're making sales from Facebook, and say Facebook, changes their advertising policies, that business could, struggle a lot. So there's still risks with them. It's just understanding those risks and yeah.
I don't know. I'm just curious because to me, it seems like the sort of the next thing. It's like the time for people to consider, okay, I have this asset and maybe this is the time to try now and get it out there, because people are feeling potentially the pain in these other areas, but there are still people with cash who are interested in investing and are looking for the most stable place, to the extent that there is a stable place online to put their money.
Yeah, I think still people are like, everyone's looking for something that's going to be less risky. Either way, like buying websites risky. Like it's a lot more risky than buying property, but it's better money as well. So people are prepared for that, but they still want to minimize that risk. And I think a lot of people are at the moment emotional. And when you're investing or buying something emotionally, it's so bad. And people are like, well, I want to get into this space because like the multiples are only going to go up and I can work from home and all this stuff. And they might go, well, Amazon associate site sucks, so I'm going to buy an e-commerce site. And it still may be not good for them. Like running an e-commerce site, especially if it's drop shipping or, our own products, is like there's stuff that you have to deal with. You've got to deal with customers. Like that's a thing. Like it's not the best. And then I go, well, Amazon associates, you don't have to deal with customers, and you can buy something that, you could do a little bit of Amazon associates and different affiliate partners, or you could, over time take away Amazon associates and get more affiliate partners in. And I don't know, it's a very interesting one, and it's all speculative now at the moment. And I think it's interesting to see how it's going to pan out. Like I like to just sit back and watch and learn from what people do, rather than me having to go away and do it and really go belly up. And I know that's, not the best for those people, but I try to help them. I try to help them the best. Come and work with either me or somebody else, to make the right decisions, because I mean, it's a crazy space. It's so crazy, but I love it. It's fun.
Well, I got to tell you that some of us, and I put myself in that category, learn the best by screwing it up, and then it really puts that lesson in there. And I guess it makes me think of your website, that buyingonlinebusinesses.com you have. And I just wrote down what it said. I'm looking over here at my notes. said something about failing repeatedly, like failing over and over, failing miserably. So you didn't always sit on the sidelines and just
No.
take it in and do it right. You did it, admittedly, did it wrong a bunch of times on your own, right?
Oh, so I still do it wrong. Like, I still do it wrong all the time. Um, I'm a human being. Like, yeah, I've learned some pretty sucky lessons.
Care to share
And
like the best one, the
um,
highlight reel?
yeah, let's talk about one that I was like, I was living in Panama at the time, and I was running a drop shipping business, and I was just living in Panama, and I was like a surf coach, and I love surfing. Surfing's my thing, and so I was living in Panama, and I was running this drop shipping business, and I was like, I'd speak to some customers on the phone, especially if they wanted to make a big order of product, and I was like, okay, cool. This person decided to call me, and I was like, oh, actually, I'll call you. I called their phone number and ended up getting. They had like an order for like, I think it was like $15,000 worth of product, and then shipping on top was going to be a lot more. And I was like, okay, cool. Like let's make the transaction. And what they wanted to do, right, is they wanted to like take the products from Australia, because we're selling primarily in Australia, to the US. And I was like, well, we're not going to handle the ship. We don't handle the shipping for that, because it's going to be expensive and most people don't want to pay for it. Like, oh, that's cool. We know a shipping company we'll use. We'll pay you, and then you pay the shipping company, and we'll pay for the product and the shipping together, and then you send it over. And I was like, okay, cool. So I took the money, and the shipping was like going to be like $7,000 or something, and because it was like a big product. So we're up to like 20 plus grand that I'm getting in credit card, and I'm like, all right, cool. So I took a few different credit cards. We're like, oh, that's the max on that one. That's the max on that. That's the max on that one. So I took like 3 different credit cards. I'm like, cool. And I waited for the money to come into my account. I was like, all right, cool. Credit card's going to wait for the money to not just get into the merchant, but come into my business bank account.
Yeah.
So from there, I was like, okay, cool. I've got the money. Just tell them, guys, it's like a lot of logistics. It's going to take some time. So I got the products. I paid for the shipping company, and waiting for the shipping company to pick it up, waiting a couple of days. And then these credit card transactions went fraudulent, and they started taking the money out of my account. I'm like, oh crap.
Oh God.
Like, and I'm trying to call this person, like, what's going on? Like, anyway, I never heard from him ever again. And I got the money back from the product, right? It's because we didn't send it, and I resold it to other customers. But the shipping company, I never heard back from them again. So I was under the impression that it was a shipping company that sort of set this up and screwed me over. And it was like the shipping company was very vague when I Googled them, and I tried to get a lawyer involved and get like this $7,000 back. And I was just like, it was just like a dumb lesson by me. It's like, I'm just here in Panama, I'm taking money on credit card. And I mean, it can happen to anybody, but these things just happen. Like, I made a mistake, and now I'm making sure that, if we take orders over $1,000, it's, electronic fund transfer, not credit card, because that can bounce, and you can already sell the product, and it can be gone, and you can lose a lot of money. And if you do that like multiple times, they do that 20 times, you can lose 20 grand straight up like that. So that's one of the dumb lessons that I've made from selling things online.
How creative! If that literally was like a scam perpetuated by the shipping company, like, holy crap.
I have no doubt it was. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, it sucked. But I mean, at the time it sucked because I wasn't like crushing it. Like, I wasn't like making big bucks online and doing all these different things. And like, I was just like, wow, like, I'm trying to penny pick on, like, by living in Panama at the time. I just lost all this money where I could be traveling on that money for like months and months. But
well, in a third world country, I mean, a couple $100s could last you a month, depending on where you are. So that would be huge. Could be a year's worth of living expense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to shift gears a little bit because
let's do it.
I could probably chat with you for like hours, but I don't think that everybody else will watch. Back in February, it looks like you hosted or put together an online summit with a whole bunch of people. Was that you? Did that happen?
Yeah, yeah.
How'd that pan out? Like, tell me about it.
Yeah, it was good. It was the Buying Online Businesses Summit. At the end of 2019, I just decided, all right, I'm going to get a bunch of people together and chat for 1 hour. And it went for, so how many speakers did we have? We might have had 12 speakers, and we had 4 a day. And basically it was like, what's going on in the space, advice on buying sites and growing them as well. So it's the Buying and Building Online Businesses Summit. And it panned out well. Like, I just decided to get everybody together. Like, I made a lot of connections through networking, and everybody decided to jump on, which was quite cool. In the end, a lot of people started asking to come on because they saw the marketing come out, and I didn't have enough room. I'd already set it up. So next time we do it, it'll be a bit bigger, hopefully better. Hopefully I've learned enough from it. But yeah, it turned out really well. Like, a lot of people came, jumped in, gave great feedback, and I felt it was just a good hub of learning for everyone. And it was pretty simple for the guests, an hour of their time each, but ended up being quite an amount of content for the user.
So you said, I hope that I learned a lot and how to do it better. I mean, what do you feel like you learned that you'll take and then apply next time you do it?
Yeah, so what I've learned is how to structure it, and I'll structure it maybe a little bit different next time, in how I have speakers come on and how I take questions, and how it goes live and how I roll it out. Also, like the marketing, I'll change a little bit in the marketing and how I actually did it. And I'm also gonna if I do it again, I'll probably do a course on how to make it just mint, like how to make it really good. I thought I'd just run this one. I got a bit of advice from a friend who has done this at scale and just crushed it. And I decided to roll with it. And yeah, next time I'm gonna change a few different things in the marketing, the structure of it, the guests, the message, and make sure it's just super valuable. Yeah.
Like how much time, as far as the lead up, did you start sending the messages out that you were having it? Because I've seen people just drop everything, like, we're gonna do it next week and here's who's coming on. And then some people plan for like 6 months for an online summit.
Yeah, I definitely I'm not the person to just go, I used to be the person to just go, let's just do it. And then I made a great friend of somebody who's very strategic and just has taught me so much on just how to make the right move at the right time in the right way that's going to be beneficial for so many other people as well. And just do it with good intent, very strategically. So this time I think I came back I was away for about 4 weeks in Europe with my partner. We're traveling around. And then I came back in October, mid-October, and then went, all right, cool, I'm going to start messaging people and book invites. And I gave myself about 6 weeks to make all the recordings happen and stuff like that, and then decided to release it at the 1st of Feb. So what's that? October, November, December, January. So 3 months. Over time. Yeah, it was good. I wasn't like stressing, like, oh, I've got to get this done quickly. And it's better to not make decisions based off freak out phase, from what I've learned, because we just make silly decisions.
I'm jumping again because I'm trying to like wrap up the things that I wanted to talk about, and I'm not going to get to more than like a third of the things that I wrote down that I wanted.
We will have to have a chat again then.
We'll have to do it again. That's the thing though I like about it, is if we have a chat and then we introduce you to everybody, and then when you come back, we'll just skip all that stuff and then we'll just like pick it up like where we were.
Yeah.
We'll just keep going.
That's the way to go.
The people that I talk to who are super smart, which I'm going to put you in that category.
Thank
clearly.
you.
Everybody I know who I talk to who's successful, they're continually learning, right? They're not just, okay, this is what I do. They're actively seeking out, help in some way or resources or something. Like, what is it that you are doing right now to help you grow your business and to grow yourself personally?
I read books like they're going out of fashion. I love books, and so I probably read at this stage. I probably read maybe 2 books a month. I'm doing training in different courses, like online courses. A lot of them are not great. Some of them are excellent, but more so through my network now. I ask people, hey, I want to like learn more about this, and so I will put something out on Facebook, or I'll put something out somewhere and in a group and say, hey, I'm like, anybody got any advice on this? And then I go all in. I either connect with somebody that has been introduced to me and I have a chat to them. I might buy an hour of their time. And then if I decide to work with them, I'll decide to work with them. But previously before that is I just went to seminar after seminar after seminar. Like when I was first getting started, I was like going to all these different free seminars, and it was good. But the mistake that I made was everybody was telling me to get a mentor, and I just like, I can do this. I've got this. Like I was so confident. I'm like, I'm just going to do this myself. Like I want to be like the zero to hero story of like, I'm the self-made person. And then I heard these things, kept hearing people saying that you need to have a mentor. And then I realized like, there's no such thing as a self-made person, because everybody's learned from somebody, even if it's just a book or just like something you've watched on Facebook for 1 minute, you learned from somebody else. So I took my cash. I was like, I'm going to invest in a mentor. Like here's 15 grand, and then here's 20 grand, and then here's another one. And I try to keep doing that. And that's helped me a lot. I think that's such a good way to go, is just invest in your education with somebody that resonates with you. Like I've made some investments in mentors that I perceived that was the life that I really wanted, which led me to success, but not fulfillment. And there's a huge difference between that. And so, yeah, I think that's where I started. And now I read books and I get referred and recommended to like a different mastermind or a different course or something like that. Once you start building a network, then you can start trusting those decisions or trusting those people refer you to the right place, rather than having to just do it solely intuitively.
So if somebody was interested in learning about buying businesses, in addition to going to buyingonlinebusinesses.com, are there any other resources that you think are valuable for folks who just aren't really sure where to turn?
Yeah, sure. It may not be for everybody listening as well. So go away and check out my podcast, like see if it vibes with them, I guess. So yeah, they can just go to my website and click on the podcast tab and check that out. In terms of resources, actually, I think you covered one of my resources. It's a due diligence framework. And
I was going to bring that up. Did you see the video I did on that?
Yeah, it was good. I was like, oh, wow. And I was like, afterwards, I was like, I got to connect with Amelia. And I'm glad we got put in the same group. I was like, oh, awesome. We get to chat.
I totally credited you. I did not claim.
Yeah.
I did not claim that was me. I said, this belongs to him.
Yeah. It was awesome. And I really, really do appreciate it. And there's been a couple of other people that have like written things about me. And I'm like, I don't know this person, but thank you so much. Like, it's just like, and thank you. Truthfully, I greatly appreciate it for the credit. And yeah, thanks for sharing it, because that's a resource. Like you can go away and watch Amelia's video and check out, what she's talking about in it.
I'll put it right up there. If you see my finger, I'll put that video right there about doing your due diligence packet, because that was a video I made last year, and I doubt more than 100 people have seen it.
Well, maybe more now, but yeah, check that out. Like check out the video, and you can go away and get the resource, so you can just keep it and use it whenever you want. Checklist.
Well, that's one thing I've noticed, though, is there are very few individuals who are openly sharing their due diligence process. Like it's almost super vague anytime. And, due diligence, like check the traffic, check the earnings, verify this, that. I mean, that's not enough. Like that's not enough.
That's surface level. Yeah.
So
I've actually updated it as well. So I've got one. So I think it's the same link that it's always been to get the thing. So if you use that link anyway, they'll get the 2.0 version, and there's also like links on what tools to use to find, backlinks of traffic and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean,
it's still free, right? It just costs people their email address. That's all. I mean, I remember it being free.
Yeah, it's free. It's just email address, which is hard for people to give up these days sometimes. And I don't spam, so.
I can attest to that. I'm on your email list, and you definitely don't hit me with all kinds of sales and stuff. In fact, I feel like I very seldom see tons of emails from you.
You might get one. You probably get my podcast once a week, and then maybe one here and there. But yeah, I mean, I get it. Like there are some crappy email lists to be on, and I'm constantly unsubscribing from people. But yeah, back to sharing content. I think it's important. Like, there's people that have bought businesses by listening to my podcast and stuff without ever speaking to me, and it's helped them. So that's the goal. Like that's the goal, like, is to make sure they're doing the right thing, because I used to be a plumber, like you know my hero journey story, and I hated where I was at. And there was nobody that was teaching this stuff. So that's where I'm coming from, for sure. And there's other people out there that are doing the same thing. And yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to give you a chance to tell anybody who's watched this all the way to the end, where they could find you or anything else. I mean, products that you're offering. Plug away. Tell us.
Yeah, thanks. Just click the video where Amelia's putting it. Watch that, and that'll probably link to my site. And you can just go from there. Check out my podcast, my site, whatever it is, or hit me up if you need to contact me on my site and have a question. Just hit me up as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming, and I'm totally going to drag you back because this was way too fun.
Yeah, let's do it again. I look forward to it. Thank you.